Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic all the way from the Gold Coast in Australia. Look, I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic week. I know we're all a little bit fatigued with coronaviruses, and it'd be just nice to have something different to talk about, wouldn't it, besides politics and viruses? And you wonder whether or not they don't go together. You know, when you look at politicians around the world, they are a bit like a virus. But anyway, let's try and liven the week up and make your next half an hour a little bit more pleasant and something to look forward to, and bring a little bit of joy to your life, which is what we're about here on A1R Psychic Radio with all our amazing shows over the next few days. So the Simply Tarot card of the week is the Page of Cups. Now, look, in all my years of teaching, people used to say to me, look, Amanda, I don't understand about pages and knights and kings and queens, and how does this relate to my reading, and what's it got to do with, and why do we have to have them? Now, the simple answer to that is we have to have some sort of way of describing people in a tarot reading, and this is how we get people in a tarot reading, as a page, knight, or a queen, or a king. But a lot of times the minor court cards, if you want to call the pages and knights that, are more usually about a secondary meaning than they are actually sort of indicating a person. Now, how I would like to look at the Page of Cups this week is let's take it in a slightly different direction. For most of our viewers, I know that you're going to be over the age of 25, and I'm sure in your mind you still feel 25. You still sort of want to be a little bit frivolous and a little bit sort of cheeky and sort of, you know, take the world by storm and sort of live life through a lens of I don't really care much, I'm young and I'm indestructible and nothing can harm me. Well, why don't we take on that energy just for a little bit of a change? Why don't we all tell ourselves that we're 22, we're under 25, and we're going to take the world by storm, and we're going to look at the world through a set of positive, young, youthful sort of eyes for this week. And I think that's something that we could all do, whether we're female or whether we're male. I think we could take on this different sort of perspective of looking at things in a very youthful, sort of exciting, positive way, and seeing only good things in the world for a change. Wouldn't that be a nice change? The secondary meaning of this card, if we're not looking at it as being a young woman up to 25 who possibly has blue eyes and light brown hair or blonde hair, is basic good news. Now, look, we could all do with some basic good news in this time of where every time you turn on some sort of form of media or how you gather your news, it's doom and gloom and virus and politics. So let's try and shut that out for the next 30 minutes, and let's try and look at some basic good news and look at something through the eyes of youth, that we've got something exciting and positive to look forward to. So this is going to take me into the astrology section of the show. And each week I've been focusing more and more and more on astrology, trying to give people some sort of hope, some sort of guidance, some sort of glimpse at why we're still in the middle of this pandemic. And, you know, I'd love to be able to get on the show and say, look, it's all going to magically disappear next week. That would be very foolish of me to say that. And it's not sort of happening that quickly anyway, regardless of when we get a vaccine, if we get a vaccine, and how long does that take to run it around the world and get everybody vaccinated who wishes to partake in that. So let's focus on something else for this week, just a little bit more. This week we're in the middle of a full moon. The full moon will finish on August 5 or 5th of August if you're in the Southern Hemisphere. It's been a very intense full moon this time because the full moon is in Aquarius. Now, look, every full moon has its own intensities, has its own complexities, brings about its own decision making, its own insights, its way that it handles the energy, and asks each and every one of us to handle our own energy in maybe a slightly different way and look at how it personally affects us. Now, this particular full moon is different to others because it is in the sign of Aquarius. Now, the Aquarian energy dares to be different. The Aquarian energy dares to sort of step outside the comfort zone, sometimes deliberately says things to sort of shock us, surprise us, jolt us out of that comfort zone that we're in, even though we're not happy to be there. We're happy to stay there because we don't have to make a decision or we don't have to think outside the square. So emotionally, we've been challenged in this last 24, 48 hours to think a little bit outside of the square, to look at the things that maybe we've hidden from ourselves, we've chosen not to look at, things that we don't want to look at because they're too painful, or sometimes things that we don't want to look at because we're just not plain ready to do so. So in that way, I'm saying it's been an interesting full moon, but also the sign of Aquarius also means it's fixed and rigid. It's not necessarily showing us a lot of flexibility. Some people find with the full moon in Aquarius, it sort of jiggles their thinking around enough that they feel sort of confident enough that they can attack another person and sort of try and become the dominant person in a situation or a relationship, because they try and bring in the opposite energy of Leo and say, I'm the bossy one, I'm the best, I'm this, I'm that. So it's a very interesting, complex full moon because it takes on many different flavors. Some people find great answers and great comfort in all of a sudden their thinking being able to be a little bit abstract, a little bit different, and they get solutions and answers to the things that have been troubling them, not just on an emotional level, but on their life level. Some other people find it very confronting and very difficult to deal with because all of a sudden what they didn't want to deal with is right on the tip of their nose and they have to deal with it now. They can't ignore it. They can't hide from it anymore. So it's been in some ways a challenging full moon, but in some ways a very enlightening light bulb moment full moon too. I know for me, it's been, because it's in my opposite side to my moon, it's been a time where I felt a little bit flat energy wise. And I mean, that could, yes, very well have to do with it being very busy lately and sort of, during the whole of this pandemic, it's been a lot of people that I've, had to reply to messages and things like that. That is a bigger increase than normal. And because I won't necessarily turn anyone away. I'm not saying I give away free readings, but if somebody messages me and they're concerned about something, I will try and, some way at least respond to them, even if it's just a couple of kind words to let them know that they're not alone. So I put it down to that, but also looking at it as being that way, anybody that might have their moon in their natal chart in Leo will probably have felt that sort of push-pull of energy in this last couple of days too. 1 minute you're full of enthusiasm and energy, and the next minute you feel like, where's the nearest chair or a bed so I can sit down or lay down? I really am feeling quite tired. So, don't rule out this because, emotions can be quite taxing on us. And some people say to me, oh, Amanda, I'd never sleep with a full moon. Doesn't matter what energy it's going into. That's a personal thing. And that usually indicates you've got a fairly strong moon in your chart. And 9 times out of 10, it means your moon's in a water sign. So you do become very responsive to the emotional pull of the tide of the moon. Now, the full moon has also been conjunct what's known the part of fortune. Now, the part of fortune is not where we look for making huge amounts of money in our chart. It's where we look at that we can bring in the most fortunate opportunities or bring our lives into some sort of balance, which is our own personal fortune. Now, I feel with it being conjunct part of fortune, I think it's probably been a good thing in a lot of ways because for a lot of people, it has been that real light bulb moment where they've finally seen or come to the conclusion of some answers in their lives and some things that they're now accepting that they can't change or they can't fix. Now, that's a hard one because we all seem to think that we're in control of our own destiny and we should be able to fix anything or change anything that we don't particularly like. Now, I found over my lifetime there's some things that you just can't change, that's the way they are. No matter what you do about it, that's it. That's where it sits, that's where it stays, and you can fight it all you want, but it's not going to change it. So for some people, that's been the realisation in the last couple of days. And for other people, it's like, aha, now I see the way forward. Why was I getting so stressed out or so concerned about this or that or the other? There is an alternative, there is another solution. So for whichever way it's been for you, embrace it, own it, work through it, and look forward to some better times coming. Yes, we've got our usual 3 culprits sitting in Capricorn, Jupiter, Pluto and Saturn, and each week I've been talking about them and as being part of the reasons why the pandemic is going on. And I don't feel that we need to keep rehashing that. They're still there. They're still all holding hands. They're still working together to try and globally find some answers, some solutions, and hopefully keep our world leaders in a peaceful state of mind and not wanting to throw their toys out of the sandbox. So let's leave that there. But we also have Neptune, the planet of illusion and delusion, which doesn't always get a good rap. He's sitting in Pisces. Now, Neptune to me is the planet of creativity. This is where some of the most prolific writers and songwriters and movie script writers and producers and the really creative people of the world usually have a very strong Neptune in their chart. So I actually like Neptune as a planet because it gives us the time to sort of go into a little bit of a thought fog and sort of look at maybe a number of different scenarios of how something's going to play out in our lives. And sometimes we just pick the best one and bring that back to being our truth, even though we know maybe deep down in our soul that that may not necessarily be the truth, but it gives us something positive to hang on to and something to aspire to and a way to try and guide an outcome. I don't say we can change it, but maybe sort of make some modifications or guide it or help it along. Now, Neptune is actually making a very, very lovely aspect, which in astrology terms known as a sextile, which is a planet of it's not a planet, it's an aspect of ease where it's sort of making things a bit easier in our lives. Now, is sextiling Uranus in Taurus. Now, Uranus has been sitting in Taurus for a bit over 12 months now. Uranus is the planet of the unusual and unexpected happenings. It's like a bolt of lightning striking the ground. Now, with it being in Taurus, it's trying to stabilize everything. It's trying to make us look at lives through a different sort of lens and bring stability into our lives. Now, this can be one of the culprits partly for why the pandemic has sort of happened. It was sort of like the triggering arm of everything that's sitting in Capricorn, which also is trining, which is also supposedly an easier planet. But I'm looking at Uranus as being the trigger point, as being sort of like, bang, that's the bolt of lightning. That's what set these things in motion. Now we've got to all scramble to sort of try and find some solutions. But because it's sitting in Taurus, it's telling us that there is practical solutions there. There is ways, if we change our thinking, if we change the things that were once upon a time important to us and get a new set of rules to live by and to govern the world and to sort of, trade with our other nations and whatever and look after the planet more and all start to look at things in harmony, then just maybe we can get an answer and we can get solutions to the things that are troubling the world. Now, with it sort of sextiling Uranus sextiling Neptune, I just sort of feel that we might be coming into a cycle where we might get some creative thinking. We might get some people thinking outside the square. Maybe people are going to go back and sort of, while they're trying to do research in laboratories to come up with a vaccine for this COVID-19, maybe just by doing that and sort of allowing themselves a little bit of time to daydream or look out the window or look into the test tube, that maybe then they're going to get some other insights to some of the other drugs that have already been approved and been in the marketplace for many years, that maybe by applying some of those in a different way or a different combination of meds, we may start to get some solutions here. We may start to get some possible treatments for this COVID thing. I know it's, there's many variables, but what I'm trying to do is look at it from an astrological point of view. I'm not a medical person, and see whether or not there is potential there for some breakthroughs to come. And I actually believe that there is opportunities here for some drugs that we already know about. We know about the side effects to be applied in a different combination. And I do think that we can start to get, it's not going to be one size fits all. I think there's going to be a number of variants there and different potential treatments for the different symptoms that come with the illness and the virus and the different way it affects individuals. But I do think that there is some answers at hand. Now, finally, I want to talk about the North Node, which is the Moon's node. It's in Gemini. Now, when we have a node, or we have nodes going north and south, the north and the south node, the North Node is where we're aspiring to in an astrology chart. Now, at the moment, it's in Gemini, so it's telling me that it's asking everybody to aspire to have a more open mind. Allow communication to come and go. Let's have the snap of the fingers. Let's allow things to come and go quickly. Let's sort of get out and do a bit of talking. I mean, okay, we may not be physically able to get out and talk, but we have many ways of communicating with people these days over devices and telephones and social media and things like that. Let's get some think tanks happening. Let's start to try and put out there a positive vibration that we really are starting to move into a much more caring society, because we've got the North Node in Gemini, conjunct or holding hands, Venus, the planet of love and affection. So I think it's time that we start turning our energies and our attention to being more focused, more loving, more considerate of the other person. And I think that's been the biggest message out of everything that I've seen and heard. And I tend to sort of try and catch up on a lot of world events every day and look at how different countries and different nations are handling this COVID thing, because I have clients from all over the world. And it helps me understand them and their emotions and what they're going through and the things that are important to them by being abreast of it as much as I can. And the one thing that I think most people have forgotten in this pandemic is by looking after self and taking responsibility for self, and that means wearing a mask if that's what's the suggested course of action in your local area, that when you step outside the door, not only are you taking care of self, but then we're also taking care of you, the other person. Now, I think if each person took responsibility for themselves and treated themselves as if they were infectious and took care of how they're going to be relating to other people when they go out the door, that mask up, put a scarf on, do something, put some sort of face covering on, keep your social distance, wash your hands regularly, take some hand sanitizer with you. You can get little bottles these days. You can pop in your pocket or your handbag or your purse. And just if we all did that, that may be just the magic bullet that we've been looking for. Yes, it's good that we're working towards a vaccine and treatments, but maybe if we all just did that, just maybe we could get this under control to a point that we could all start opening up our lives again and getting back to the things that we treasure, the things that are so important to us, like our family and friends. So quickly, before we go to take our first call up, Destiny Candle this week is the one that I've chosen because I think it's time that we all focused a little bit more on our own destiny. We can all manifest what we want. So I think it's a time now to be very focused on being very loving, very kind, and focus on what you want to bring into your life. And I think we all want to bring a little bit more love, a little bit more peace, and a little bit more tranquility into our lives. So that's the Destiny Candle. So as we focus each week on the show, we have a gift box set that I make up. This week I've gone with Destiny, as that's the feature candle for the week. I'm also featuring My Angel in the Sky. We will be continuing to burn those here on set as a mark of respect for all the people that we've lost around the world during this pandemic and for other reasons as well. It's the candle that represents our angels that we've lost. And the final candle, I've left the sun there again because I still want to bring some brightness and some happiness and some, looking at a new day dawning, and sort of hopefully we can find that we've got something positive. So we're going to take our first caller is Isabella in California. Are you there, Isabella? Isabel.
Yes, I'm here.
Do you have a question for me to work with, sweetie?
I wanted to see if you could either tell me about my current love life right now, or if there's any messages from my grandma that passed away.
Okay, look, it might not necessarily be enough time to sort of tune into grandma, but what I can sort of say to you is that there is going to be new love coming into your life. I think it's really interesting, Isabel, because in the last few months, it's like you've really taken the blindfold off about yourself, what you want, what you're looking for out of life, and now you've got a new plan afoot of where you want to go and how you want to go about it. Now, by doing that, that's going to bring towards you new love with somebody that's going to be very different to what you've experienced before. I am seeing someone new coming in around late September, early October. Was your grandma a very strong person? She had very definite opinions. It was either yes or no. There was sort of, not always a lot of softness there. If you asked her for some advice, it was very matter of fact. It was, yes, well, this is what you should do, and that's it. Yes. That's how I'm picking her up. And she's sort of saying to me that she's been working with you to help you understand what you need. She doesn't want you to change that soft, beautiful, gentle side of yourself that gives everybody the benefit of the doubt that, everybody's got some goodness in them. And she's saying, yeah, keep that. But at the same time, look for their faults. Don't always give them the free pass. Like you might meet somebody and yes, they're nice, but now hang on, have a look at what they could be wrong with them. And then we'll see whether they're worthy of being in your life. She really is your guiding star. She's with you all the time. When you need answers, what she's asked me to share with you is to go outside and look up to the sky and have a conversation with her, because she really feels then she can connect with you stronger then, Isabel. She's also sort of showing me that there's going to be a few more changes between now and the end of the year. Are you thinking of changing your job and changing where you're living?
Maybe changing where I'm living, possibly.
Okay, but she's showing me both those things, as if there's changes with your work. That could just be a change of duties, not necessarily a change of companies. And she was also showing me a question mark
at the moment, I'm not working.
Okay, well then there's a job coming. That's the same thing to me, because she was showing me there was a change in job. So if you're not working, there's a job coming, and then there's a change of where you're going to be living. And she's telling me that all these things she's making them all happen. So you just got to trust, love. She's always with you. Okay, that's where we're going to leave, Isabella. We're going to talk to Eliza in Arizona. Are you there, Eliza?
Yes,
Elsa,
I am.
How are you, sweetie? I apologise for getting your name wrong. How can I help you, sweetheart?
Well, I wanted to know if and when I'm going to be moving anywhere better than I am.
Okay, well, that's probably a big question at the moment for a lot of people around the world, is that, is it time to sort of move or relocate? With you, I got the word relocate. So with this move that you're planning or have been working towards, did that mean a move out of Arizona or to a different part of Arizona, not just a local move?
I was hoping to move out of state.
Oh, good, because they gave me the word relocation. And to me, relocation is I'm not moving around the corner or across town. It usually means a much bigger move. So, yes, I am seeing that. Look, please forgive my ignorance. I'm not exactly sure where Arizona is in your map, but what they're showing me is if I was to look at a map of the United States from the Southern Hemisphere, you're going to go sort of northeast. Is that sort of where you've been looking to go?
Yes.
Right. Well, that's what they showed me, and they said to me that there was like a 2 thumbs up, that's where you should be aiming for. Could this all happen as early as next month? Because I'm just sort of seeing the momentum starting to build, with this going to take place very, very quickly, like a job to go to, somewhere to move to, and like a whole new world just sort of ready to blossom.
Oh, wow. So it would be within the next month. See, I was scared I wouldn't have a job, so I'm not. That's the main thing kind of holding me back.
Yeah, but I felt you had a job to go to. It was like you weren't making the move without having employment to go to. It's like, set your standards of what you want, send it out to the universe, actively participate in making that happen, and it's all there ready to happen for you. You've just got to believe and you've got to be ready. But, only apply for jobs that you want. I mean, there's no point in applying for a job that you're going to be miserable in. We want to make this move about a positive, definite change in your life that's going to start to snowball other beautiful things to come towards you. But I do think it could be as early as next month. They were showing me everything was sort of ramping up. Like where you are now, all the doors are closing and everything's starting to open up for you. It's been a difficult year in more ways than one, hasn't it? Not just because of COVID. I think there's been just sort of so many other challenges that you've had to deal with this year. I'm pleased to say they're coming to an end. So, yeah, and it's like,
it's been a horrible year.
Yeah, but let me assure you, you don't necessarily have to wait to the end of the year to say goodbye to this year. It's sort of like the end of August spells the end of 2020 for you, and then we open it up into something much more positive, much more beautiful. So that's a good sign because, for everything that you've been through, we're now going to start to see some rewards and some results out of that, and that's good. Have you also to sort of sat down and sort of looked at your friends and said, well, you can go, you're on the maybe and you're on the definite list? It's sort of like it's been a very clinical way of looking at things and sort of saying, it's not volume I need now, it's quality. Is that how you've been looking at it?
Oh, yes.
Well, they're showing me to keep going with that. It's sort of like, I always believe we can count our good friends on one hand. Not the acquaintances,
Correct.
not the people we know, but the people that we can truly rely on and call our good friends. We can count on one hand. And you're not even down to. You're probably down to less than 5 fingers. You're probably down to 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they were showing me we're going to expand that out with the move. There'll be a couple more added to that list. You might need 2 hands. You might end up with more than 5. So that's good. But I just sort of feel 2021 is going to be a really dynamic year for you. It's like, be very careful what you wish for, because it may just very well happen. So make sure that things that come out of your mouth are positive statements, don't say anything negative. Don't say, I hate this or I don't like that. Be very careful what you say, because your words are weapons at the moment. So be very focused on what it is that you want and what the end result is that you're hoping to achieve, and then set your sights high and go for it, because I really do think everything can come your way.
Now, would I be moving by myself or no?
They didn't actually show me that. They were more focused on showing me what this move meant for you. So that doesn't necessarily mean you're going by yourself, but it was sort of the information that was being given to me was given to me to give to you for you personally.
Okay.
Wonderful. Well, it's been lovely to work with you. We're just about to wrap the show up for another week. So I really want to leave you with something positive. I want you to start looking at how you can bring about some difference in your life this week by pretending that you're under 25, and start to look at your life in a more youthful, positive direction with no fear, and sort of saying, how can I sort of look at this world in these very youthful eyes and see things maybe through a different lens? And then we can put a dose of reality back into it and what stage and age you are in your life. But let's try and look at it through the eyes of youth first and foremost. And that might just give us a different way of looking at things. So enjoy the rest of the full moon. I know that it's going to affect each and every one of us in a different way, but it's there for a reason. So until next week, bye for now.